Untouchable, unstoppable.
This is WIUR Sports Radio.
Hi, I'm Robbie Bagel, president of WIUR Radio, and I hope you're enjoying today's show. Have you ever wanted to call the biggest games, the biggest moments for the biggest names for Iona Athletics? Then the newly founded WIUR Sports Radio is the place to be. Launched in January of 2025, our goal is to try and get broadcasters here at Iona an opportunity to learn, succeed, and get a chance to be on air. From getting to call the big moments at the hack,
Dinkins trying to go to the rack. Denied. Yafet Mundi.
to seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
The line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away.
Good afternoon and welcome to Michael and Luca's Excellent Adventure podcast episode number 4. I am very happy to be here today, and I'm very happy to speak about some very interesting topics with my roommate Luca today. Luca, tell me what you did yesterday.
Yes, so yesterday I went to the New York Giants game. They played the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, they lost, but regardless, I had a great time because I went with my dad, my brother, my cousin, and a bunch of my brother's friends because we celebrated his 9th birthday from a few weeks ago. And, we had like this tailgate with like bagels and sandwiches and like all sorts of food and drinks before, and we threw the football and frisbee around, which was cool. Then we obviously went inside and watched the game, and then after the game, we came out and stayed for a while too, which was nice. That we didn't like leave right away, and we took like this pretty cool van there. It had like lights and it had like Bluetooth where you could play music. So overall, it was a very cool experience.
Did you listen to music from the 80s or more recent music?
It was a little bit of both.
Nice. And how were your seats in the stadium?
Oh, the seats were great. We were in section 109. So
Were you near the 49ers bench or the Giants bench?
no, the Giants bench.
Did you have a good view on Jackson Dart and Brian Dable?
Yes, I had a pretty good view on them, but what was pretty evident was there was a lot more 49ers fans than Giants fans.
Did any of them have a Joe Montana or a Jerry Rice jersey on?
I did not see a Jerry Rice jersey, but I did see a Joe Montana jersey.
Now, tell me, how do you think the Giants played yesterday?
Offensively, I think they played great. Jackson Dart was great again. He had 3 touchdowns, and the offensive line did pretty well. However, the not so great part was the defense because they let the 49ers score 34 points.
Correct. That's not a very good performance by a defense if you let up 34 points. And the 49ers quarterback was Mac Jones yesterday, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what was your favorite part of the game in the stands watching them?
My favorite part was probably seeing Jackson Dart play and just how much like heart and hustle he has, and he does everything for his team to win. And it was also very cool seeing Phil Simms walk onto the field.
Phil Simms was an absolute legend. He won 2 Super Bowls, but only played in 1. And Phil Simms was the first quarterback in the Giants franchise history to win a Super Bowl for the Giants. Super Bowl 21 in 1986. The New York Giants defeated the Denver Broncos and John Elway 39-20, and Phil Simms was the MVP. And then 4 years later in Super Bowl 25, Phil Simms was injured, and Giants quarterback Jeff Hostetler defeated the Buffalo Bills 20-19, and it was a great win. And Bill Parcells was the head coach of the New York Giants both times. Were there any other former Giants players on the field before the game, or was it just Phil Simms?
From what I had seen, just Phil Simms, but I also wound up seeing Carl Banks too because he is one of the people that announces Giants games.
Carl Banks was an absolute legend. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. As a matter of fact, last January, me and my brother went to a St. John's basketball game at Madison Square Garden. And as a matter of fact, Carl Banks was actually at the game, and they showed him on the Jumbotron. And Victor Cruz, the Giants wide receiver, who was on the Giants team, the last Giants team to win the Super Bowl in 2011, who scored a touchdown in Super Bowl 46. He was at the game as well, and it was very, very ironic. Was that the best Giants game you've ever been to, Luca? Because I remember you telling me you went to a Giants game last year when they played the Eagles, who ended up winning the Super Bowl last year. But you went to the Giants game last year. Which game did you think was better?
By far, I would say this game because this game they only lost by 10, where last year they essentially got blown out by the Eagles.
Did they lose? I think they lost last year against the Eagles when you were there. Did they lose 28-3?
Yes, that was the score.
But to the Giants, in their defense, the Eagles are a very high power offensive team. Jalen Hurts is almost unstoppable. Their coaching is excellent, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. Now, from what you've watched this season, Luca, who do you think is going to go to the Super Bowl based on what you've seen so far this season?
I would say that Buffalo has a good chance of going.
Absolutely. And that was a great win yesterday against Kansas City. Josh Allen and the Bills are all heart. And so with Mahomes and the Chiefs. They never go away and they never give up.
I would also say Indianapolis has been playing great this season.
Daniel Jones is an incredible quarterback, and he really has been showing a lot of people about what he can do. And what he's done this season is incredible. And what also has surprised me this season, well, I wouldn't say surprised me, but I didn't expect them to be as good, are the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. They're one of the best teams in football. And the last time the Denver Broncos had a great season and the last time they were the best team in football was 10 years ago when Peyton Manning was in his final season, and Peyton Manning went on to win the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50. And the last time the Patriots were good was in 2019, 7 years ago, when the Patriots and Tom Brady went to the Super Bowl and beat Jared Goff and the Rams 13-3. So we're talking about the last time the Broncos and the Patriots were the division leaders were the Broncos 10 years ago when they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, and the Patriots 7 years ago when Tom Brady won his 6th Super Bowl. So those teams have really stepped up, and I have to give the Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton a lot of credit. He demands a lot out of his players, and he's a terrific X's and O's coach. And he's been coaching in the league for an extremely long time. And in 2009, he was the head coach in the New Orleans Saints, and he won the Super Bowl with the Saints. And he's a brilliant coach. And my prediction is I think the Denver Broncos are going to go on a playoff run. Same thing with the New England Patriots. And it wouldn't surprise me that those two teams are in the AFC Championship this season. And they're going on a run. And the last time the Broncos won a playoff game, I was in 4th grade. It was 10 years ago when Peyton Manning was on the team, and they won the Super Bowl against the Panthers in Super Bowl 50. So they have the potential to go on a great playoff run. And that quarterback, Bo Nix, he plays with a lot of heart. And they beat a lot of great teams this year. They beat the Eagles when they were undefeated. They won yesterday against the Houston team. They beat the Jets 2 weeks ago. They're playing really well, Denver, and so is New England. Do you agree, Luca?
Yes, I do agree. They're having a great season so far.
Now, based on how much you've seen Mahomes play and how he has played this season, do you think the Kansas City Chiefs will go to the Super Bowl this year?
I do not think that they're going to be in it. I think they're going to be a good team, but I think it's going to be different teams this year.
I believe that it will either be, based on what I've seen so far this season, it will be one of 4 teams who will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. The Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, the Indianapolis Colts, or the Buffalo Bills. And to be honest, I wouldn't rule Jacksonville out or Los Angeles. They're very good too. Jim Harbaugh has done a tremendous job this season. And I think that he has really turned that team around. And I have a lot of confidence in the Chargers quarterback. And I think that they have an opportunity to go far. And Trevor Lawrence, they defeated the Chiefs on a Monday night game a few weeks ago, and that really, really showed me a lot. And to be honest, I really think it's anybody's game, but I'll never ever rule the Kansas City Chiefs out, even though they're 5-4 now. I believe that they have the potential to still go on a playoff run. Whenever you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, I will never ever rule them out. Even if they're not playing their best football now, my gut is they're going to turn things around and they will go on a playoff run. I'll never count them out. They're a completely different team when they're in the playoffs. It reminds me of Eli Manning on the Giants. Usually during the regular season, the Giants struggled but whenever Eli Manning was in the playoffs, he always got the job done and he always overcame the odds. And whenever he went up against a team in the playoffs, his team, the Giants, were not predicted to win, but they never gave up. They always overcame adversity, and he always made a big play in the big game, and he was the clutchest quarterback in the big time game. And that's incredible. Do you agree, Luca?
Yes, I agree. Eli was a great quarterback and should definitely make the Hall of Fame.
Without question, I think he definitely should. And now looking at the NFC teams, based on how they've played this season, who do you think has a chance of going to the Super Bowl in the NFC?
For the NFC, I would say the Lions have a chance at it.
I like Jared Goff a lot, and I like the Lions head coach a lot. I think he wants the best for his team, and I think that they have a chance. I'll never ever count out Jalen Hurts. I think he's having a great season. The Eagles look really good. I think they have a chance. I think Washington has a chance of turning things around, even though they lost yesterday. I like Dan Quinn a lot as a head coach. I think Green Bay is playing really, really well, but they lost a back and forth game yesterday. I think they're having a great season. And to be honest, Kyle Shanahan is a tremendous coach. The 49ers, I think they have a chance of going on a playoff run. And who do you think has a chance?
Besides the Lions, I would probably say, obviously the Eagles are going to go on a run.
Yes, they are, and their coach, their team, they're a complete team.
Yeah, for sure. And
what about Dallas? Do you think they have a chance?
Dallas, no, I can't really see them doing much.
Me neither. I can't really see them doing as much, and I hope out of any team in the league this season, I hope that Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl, and I hope they go on a playoff run. And I think out of all the years, I think it's going to be this year for Buffalo going on a playoff run because last season, they, after the Chiefs won their last Super Bowl 2 years ago in Las Vegas when they beat the 49ers in overtime, after that season, and literally Mahomes, as he was about to lift up the Lombardi trophy, he said to Travis Kelce, he's like, I want 3. Nobody has ever done that. No team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls. I want 3. And literally before the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they're like, we're going to win this one, and we're going to New Orleans next season, and we're going to win 3 straight. We're doing something that a team has never done before. And when Patrick Mahomes won his 3rd Super Bowl 2 years ago, Tony Romo, who does a tremendous job announcing. Do you agree, Luca?
Yes, I 100% agree.
And Phil Simms also did a tremendous job with Jim Nantz announcing. He did a great job. But if Tony Romo said after that game, he's like, Jim, when I was a player, the one thing you want to do is you want to accomplish something that no team or no player has ever done before. Has anyone ever got 3 Super Bowls? And last season, I think all the hype was around the Chiefs, and everybody was saying, are the Chiefs capable of winning 3 straight Super Bowls? That was basically the focus on the NFL all season, and people were obsessed with that. And then when they went up against the Bills last year, I actually believed that the Bills had a chance, and it was back and forth. But I knew towards the end, like, it's going to be Mahomes, and the Bills usually get unlucky. But I think this season, going to a 4th straight Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills did do it in the 90s, but they lost all 4 straight. They lost 4 straight. Do I think Buffalo? I think this is Buffalo's season out of any of the seasons to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs and to go all the way. Do you agree, Luca?
Yes, I do agree. I think they have a great chance at beating Kansas City finally.
And Buffalo went to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s. and they lost all four straight. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think happened with the Bills in those four games?
I think that's just very unfortunate. The fact that you go to four straight and lose all four, like something just doesn't add up there.
I think what it comes down to was, and Mark Levy, who was a legendary coach, and he's 100 years old, actually. I think what happened with the Buffalo Bills when they went to four straight Super Bowls, I think the first year, the first time they went, when they lost against the Giants by one, when Scott Norwood missed a field goal, I think that what that came down to was I think they just were unlucky. And I think that's what it came down to. And in the second year, when they went up against the Redskins, um, I think Buffalo they did not come out ready to play, and Washington completely outscored them. Buffalo came back in the second half, but um, Buffalo did come back in the second half, but Washington dominated so much of most of the game that it was too much for them to come back, and they couldn't recover coming back because they were down by so much. And the backup quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, Mark Reach, he said out of all, and he was part of the Buffalo Bills team that went to four straight Super Bowls and lost. That quarterback said, out of all four of the Super Bowls, the one that I was most confident that we were going to win was the second Super Bowl that we lost against Washington. And I think the third Super Bowl that I went to when they lost against Dallas, Jim Kelly got injured, and I think Dallas, their defense was just too much for Buffalo, and I think it was such a massacre that I think Buffalo just gave up. And the fourth year, I think Emmett Smith, the running back for the Cowboys, I think he just dominated, and it was too much for Buffalo. And what it came down to was Mark Levy and the Bills, not just him, but the whole team, they they couldn't perform under a big stage. I think when they got to the stage, they got nervous and they just couldn't perform. That happens sometimes. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. It's like it's normal sometimes to get nervous.
And I think that if Buffalo wins a Super Bowl this season or within the next few years, that's going to be a huge thing for Buffalo, and that will mean a lot. And I want them to, get revenge from the four straight Super Bowl losses in the '90s. Um, and I think that that would be huge for the city of Buffalo, and it would also be huge for Jim Kelly because he's like the toughest quarterback you'll ever meet. Now we're going to take a little break, but we'll be back in a few minutes.
Untouchable, unstoppable.
This is WIUR Sports Radio.
Hi, I'm Robbie Basil, president of WIUR Radio, and I hope you're enjoying today's show. Have you ever wanted to call the biggest games, the biggest moments for the biggest names for Iona Athletics? Then the newly founded WIUR Sports Radio is the place to be. Launched in January of 2025, our goal is to try and get broadcasters here at Iona an opportunity to learn, succeed, and get a chance to be on air. From getting to call the big moments at the hack,
Dinkins trying to go to the rack. Denied! Denied! Yafet Mundi with
to seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
the line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away. The Gales are going to win it in 10.
We make those moments happen on our brand new WIUR Sports Radio platform on Mixer. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me via email or to the rest of my e-board to join the club. We are WIUR Sports Radio, the new home of Iona Athletics. Now, back to the show on WIUR, Iona University Radio.
And welcome back to Michael and Luca's excellent adventure, part 4. We were just talking and discussing sports. Now we will discuss another one of my hobbies and another one of Luca's hobbies, movies. We bond about movies. We talk about movies. Last Sunday, we were talking about the Home Alone movies. Those are very entertaining movies. But we're going to talk now about the best movies we saw in the movie theaters. Luca, what was the last movie you saw in the movie theaters?
Yes, so the last movie I saw in the movie theaters was um the new Superman movie. It was I was never like huge into superhero movies, but it was like a very like cool and interesting movie, and it's one of the few movies I actually stayed awake for in the theater.
And who did you go see it with?
Yes, so I went and saw it with my dad this summer.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
I mean, there was really like a lot of great parts. It's hard to just pinpoint one.
Now, I have seen many great movies in the movie theater, but I remember very clearly the best movie I ever saw in the movie theaters when it came out was Toy Story 3. I was 4.5, and it came out June of 2010. And I remember it so well. Even though I was 4.5, I remember it so well. And I still am. But when I was younger, I loved the Toy Story movies and I loved Buzz Lightyear, and that was my thing. Me and my dad went to go see it in the movie theaters when it came out. And when the ending scene came on in Toy Story 3, the last scene, my dad, I remember it so well. And my dad remembers it very well as well. My dad was sitting a few seats away from me, and I was sitting here, and he was sitting a few seats away from me. And when the ending scene comes on, I look over at him, he looks over at me, and we just both start hysterically crying. Like, we literally just started breaking down, and we were hysterically crying in the theaters. And then when we left, we got in the car and we left crying, leaving the theaters. And we cried for many reasons. It was because Toy Story 3 was the end of an era. Um, and the way the series ended, and I loved the ending, but in a way, I was devastated with the way it ended because it was the end of an era and the main character in the movie had to grow up, but it was very, very hard to say goodbye. And the way they ended it was extremely emotional. And the fact that a franchise ended that emotional and that me and my dad cried, that really, really showed how much of an impact it had on me. And we still talk about the fact that me and my dad cried during Toy Story 3 still to this day. Another great movie I saw in the theaters when it came out was me, my brother, and my dad. We saw the movie Draft Day. It's a great football movie with Kevin Costner when it came out. I was in third grade. I actually saw it on a school night. And me, my dad, and my brother, we went to go see it. And there was one particular scene in the movie and Kevin Costner is one of my favorite actors. He's a tremendous actor. And Kevin Costner was on the phone, and Kevin Costner was the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, and he was on the phone with the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, and Kevin Costner was in his car, and Kevin Costner said, "Okay, I'm ready to do this, Tom. Um, I'll give you a first round pick. I'll give you your first round pick next year for your pick today." And then Tom Michaels said, "Correction, your next 3 first round picks." And Kevin Costner's like, "What?" And Tom Michaels was like, "You heard me." So what Kevin Costner did was he gave up the Cleveland Browns the next 3 year first round picks. And my dad, Kevin Costner was thinking about the decision in his car, and it was a decision he shouldn't have made. And my dad looked at me in the theaters, and he was sitting next to me, and my dad looked at him, and he's like, "No," meaning he shouldn't have done that decision. And they talked about NFL legends in the movie Joe Montana, uh, John Elway, Peyton Manning, and it was an incredible movie. And the ending really, really was inspiring, and that was a great memory. Luca, what was another great movie you saw in the theaters?
Yes, so another great movie I saw in the theaters, I would have to say, was Father Stew. I saw that with my grandfather, my mom's side of the family, and for the movie, it was just like it was a very like deep story of how like Mark Wahlberg went from like being a boxer to becoming a priest.
He found God, and I'm a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg. I think he's a tremendous actor. And as a matter of fact, during my senior year of high school, towards the end, I remember me and my sister actually watched that movie, and it was actually very inspiring, and it was very touching that movie. And do you remember your favorite part of the movie?
Um, Not necessarily, but just I just like the whole movie in general.
Now, another great movie that I saw in the movie theaters, and this was a very funny moment. I was in fifth grade, and it was on a Friday, and we saw that the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie came out. And me and my brother and my whole family, we were always very entertained by those movies. And we watched, we saw that the new movie was coming out, but the fourth Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, it wasn't the original characters. It was a Wimpy Kid movie, but it was with different characters. So, you know, me and my brother really wanted to go see it. And we said to ourselves, you know what? We should give my grandfather a call. So we called up my grandfather on my dad's side of the family. And my dad, we called up my father's dad and we're like, hey, do you want to come over? And do you want to go see a movie in the theaters? And my grandfather was like, yeah, sure. So the three of us went to go see it in the theaters. And there was a bunch of previews on before the movie. And after each movie trailer, while we were sitting in the theaters, after each movie trailer, I look at my grandfather. I'm like, do you want to see that movie? And for like 95% of the trailers, my grandfather just looked at me and he's like, no. And there was only like one or two that he may want to go see. And then during the movie, me and my brother and my grandfather, we were very entertained by it. We found it to be very, very funny. And then after the movie, um, I remember asking my grandfather like, "What was your favorite part?" And like he couldn't even decide which one because it was so funny, and that one was very funny. Now, Luca, are there any other movies you remember seeing in the theaters, or do you remember like watching for the first time with any family member?
Um, I mean, the movies that stand out to me from the theaters, I would probably say is the two I mentioned already.
And another now this one I didn't see in the movie theaters, but this was another great movie moment. I was in first grade, and it was the weekend of the NFC and NFC Championship weekend. So it was the end of January. Me and my family went up and we rented a ski house for the weekend. And while we were at the ski house, um, there was the DVD. There was in the basement. There was a ping pong table, and on the ping pong table there was a DVD disc for the movie National Lampoon's Vacation. And it seemed like a very funny movie. And I showed the disc to my mom, and my mom's like, "Oh, I haven't seen this in years." So we went up and we put the disc in the TV. But nowadays, you would find that movie on like a streaming service. But it was so great that we got the DVD, and as a family, we watched it. And during the movie, I remember my mom saying, because the movie was about Chevy Chase played Clark Griswold, and he has a wife and two kids, and they drive from Chicago to California to go to an amusement park, Wally World. And on the way there, Chevy Chase and his wife and his family, they stopped by Ellen Griswold's cousin's house, and when they got there, they spent the night, and their Ellen's aunt, Aunt Edna, came on the trip with them. And I remember my mom saying during the movie, "Poor Edna," and I remember my mom saying during the movie, "Poor Clark." And I remember the scene when Chevy Chase, they're like 10 hours away from the amusement park, and the family wants to go home. And I remember Chevy Chase flipping out on his family, and I'll never forget it. I was standing in the kitchen. No, I was standing in the den, and my parents were sitting down at the kitchen table. And I turn around when Chevy Chase was flipping out, and my parents were hysterically laughing, and they were laughing so hard that they cried. And it was so funny. And I remember to this day, that's like the most I've ever seen my parents laugh. It was great speaking with you today, Luca, and we look forward to having another great, excellent adventure. Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you next week.